Hello, welcome to our RecapPlus channel with me, Matthew. Today we will watch a recap movie called Kill 'Em All, released in 2017. This is a spoiler content video. So please turn on the subtitle and let's start the story. The movie opens with the independent states of the former Yugoslavia, engaged in a decade-long conflict resulting in disaster and death. NATO and the US intervened, bombing the two countries to halt the war. However, numerous mobsters and criminals remain at large, prompting intelligence agencies in each country to pursue them globally. Philip, having previously fought a criminal group in a hospital, is shown climbing into his car, interspersed with brief flashbacks of the hospital altercation. Subsequently, FBI agents question Dr. Suzanne about the events at the hospital. When shown a picture of Philip, she reveals that he saved her from the criminals, though she now believes he is deceased. The FBI agents are perplexed by Suzanne's survival amid the fatalities of other patients and doctors. Compounding the mystery, the hospital's damaged database prevents the confirmation of her identity as a doctor, leading to suspicions that Suzanne may be linked to the criminal group. Later, a flashback recounts the events of that fateful day at the hospital. Two ambulances bring in individuals wounded by firearms, including Philip. Suzanne is entrusted with Philip, who has sustained injuries to his arm and head. FBI agents disclose to Suzanne the identities of two dangerous criminals, Radovan and Zoran, mercenary brothers with a history of ruthless acts. In a 1999 Bosnia flashback, the brothers kill 3 hostages, provoking a retaliatory attack from civilians seeking revenge for their murdered family members. The FBI agent expresses disbelief at Suzanne's survival, given the professionalism of the mercenary brothers. The narrative shifts to Radovan entering the hospital, brandishing a gun, and instilling fear by firing into the air. He stumbles upon a body, revealing the face of his brother, Zoran. Philip, recovering from his injuries, arms himself. Radovan vows revenge for his brother's death, embarking on a killing spree. Suzanne flees into the hallway, where she is captured by Radovan. He instructs her to lead him to Philip. Just as the protagonist arrives, a gunfight erupts. Following the exchange of gunfire, a badly wounded Philip, now without bullets, flees with Suzanne. Despite her insistence on staying at the hospital, Suzanne remains with Philip to tend to his wounds. Meanwhile, Klaus, the leader of the criminal group, arrives with his henchmen. Radovan informs Klaus that Philip has escaped, prompting Klaus to order his capture and elimination. Returning to the FBI interrogation, agents are provided with photos of the minister and his bodyguards. It is revealed that the criminal group was, indeed, the former minister's bodyguards. The narrative then introduces various members of the criminal group. The scene shifts 6 months back to Los Angeles, where one henchman, Dusan, engages in hand-to-hand combat with an Asian man. Despite being unarmed, Dusan easily defeats his opponent. Almira, another henchwoman, uses her charm to deceive and kill her enemies. Ivan, a Russian mercenary and loyal henchman, is also introduced. At the hospital, the 3 members of the criminal group split up to search for and eliminate Philip. Meanwhile, Philip and Suzanne hide in a lab, where she tends to his wounds. Philip reveals that he once worked with the 3 mercenaries. The narrative shifts to an LA hotel 6 months ago, where Philip and the henchmen are hired to defend the minister during an important meeting with a mob boss. After receiving an envelope, the minister and bodyguards start to leave. However, Zoran, one of the bodyguards, retrieves a gun from a safe and begins shooting at his comrades. Philip is forced to fight Zoran, who wounds him with a knife before being killed by Philip. Back at the hospital, Philip informs Suzanne that he must go to the 6th floor to find the minister, and Suzanne promises to help him. During the FBI interrogation, one agent alleges that Philip is a mercenary. Suzanne, however, claims she was unaware and emphasizes that he saved her life. The FBI agents delve into Philip's past. Born in the former Yugoslavia, he fought in the war, and his father, a politician opposed to the conflict, faced frequent threats, compelling the family to move often. Unfortunately, one day, his enemies killed his father right in front of Philip's eyes. That incident changed his life, shaping him into the man he is today. At the hospital, the protagonist and Suzanne proceed to the hallway leading to the 6th floor. Dusan emerges from a room with his hands raised, signaling Suzanne to hide. He then throws a knife at Philip, who skillfully dodges it, initiating hand-to-hand combat. Philip smashes Dusan's nose and ultimately stabs him to death. Klaus attempts to contact Dusan but realizes he is now dead. Later, Suzanne and Philip rendezvous and ascend the stairs to the 6th floor. During the FBI interrogation, agents continue to suspect Suzanne's involvement with the criminal group. However, Suzanne asserts that helping is her job. At the hospital, Suzanne and Philip decide to halt and rest, aiming to regain their strength. Exhausted and in need of sustenance, Philip expresses the need for food and water. Klaus contacts Radovan, announcing his imminent arrival. Weakened, Philip collapses in the hallway, and Suzanne attempts to assist him. Simultaneously, another henchman enters the same floor. While Suzanne tends to Philip's wounds, he confesses his desire to meet her but insists on finishing something first. He promises that they will emerge from this ordeal alive. Klaus and Radovan meet in the hallway, inspecting rooms. Hearing them, Suzanne and Philip flee when the two criminals enter a room. Klaus and Radovan re-enter the hallway, discovering blood on the floor. While Suzanne and Philip hide in a small room, Radovan continues searching but fails to find them. Subsequently, Klaus orders two henchmen to explore the third floor. During the FBI interrogation, the agent receives a dossier on Suzanne. To verify her identity, the FBI agent poses personal questions, comparing the answers with the information in the dossier. Suzanne answers correctly, but the FBI agent discovers her past arrest. She discloses that she nearly killed her ex in self-defense and reveals her black belt in Aikido, stunning the FBI agent. Believing the threats have shifted to the third floor, Suzanne and Philip venture into the hallway. However, they encounter Ivan. Philip instructs Suzanne to hide while he confronts Ivan. Meanwhile, Ivan informs Almira about Suzanne, and as a result, the two meet. Almira asserts that no one will help Suzanne, and Ivan will beat Philip, as he always has. The two men engage in a fight, while Suzanne and Almira also start hand-to-hand combat. Suzanne manages to dominate Almira and attempts to strangle her with a wire, ultimately killing her. Meanwhile, Philip gains the upper hand over Ivan, breaking his neck. He then goes to retrieve Suzanne and discovers that she has killed Almira. Suzanne, feeling the weight of the situation, expresses the need to pause for a while, as she is not accustomed to such violence. On the contrary, Philip insists that they must reach the sixth floor before the mercenaries and cannot afford to stop. He emphasizes the danger she faces if left alone against Klaus and Radovan. Despite the warnings, Suzanne decides to escape from the hospital alone. The scene then shifts to little Philip, observing his mother packing her bags. After his father's death, enemies began pursuing her to kill her. Unable to escape the country due to the lack of papers, she resolves to help her son flee. She advises him to stay strong and not forget her. For Philip, the separation from Suzanne parallels his separation from his mother. Philip's mother reveals that Dmitry, the man who killed Philip's father, is the former minister of Bosnia. She portrays Dmitry as an enemy of the people, shaping Philip's perception of him as his greatest adversary. Philip's uncle takes him under his wing, teaching him martial arts, weaponry, and other skills. The narrative then shows Philip learning to assemble an AK-47 and use it. After years of training, Philip changes his name and joins Dmitry. Philip is seen fighting a man in front of Klaus and his henchmen. Following his victory, Klaus accepts him into the criminal organization, the Black Hand, and instructs Dusan to mark his chest. FBI agents reveal that Philip joined the organization with the sole purpose of reaching Dmitry and avenging his father's death by killing him. The FBI agents then recount to Suzanne what transpired that day at the hotel. Dmitry had met with a Mexican criminal to secure assistance in escaping from Ecuador to Venezuela. His plan was to evade punishment for war crimes. Philip, having discovered this, armed himself with a rifle to eliminate them. He successfully shot Dmitry and another henchman but was blindsided by a blow to the head from another man. Though Philip managed to kill his attacker, the head wound caused him to collapse on the ground. It becomes evident that Philip's objective is to reach the sixth floor to exact revenge and kill Dmitry, the former minister. Conversely, Dmitry's henchmen try to impede Philip and save their boss. The FBI agents affirm to Suzanne that she made the right choice when she decided to abandon him. At that point, Suzanne reveals that she attempted to escape but, upon hearing a noise on the stairs, opted to return. On the fifth floor, she discovered the lifeless bodies of Dmitry's bodyguards, ruthlessly killed by Philip. As she roams the hallway, Radovan hurries to the fifth floor. Meanwhile, Philip arrives on the sixth floor, finding Dmitry still alive. Dmitry, desperate for help, questions Philip about his assailant. In response, Philip points the gun at Dmitry's stomach and discloses that he killed his father. He proceeds to shoot Dmitry multiple times. During the interrogation, Suzanne admits to hearing the gunshots but claims she didn't witness Dmitry's murder. After achieving his revenge, Philip attempts to leave, But Radovan arrives, calling him. As Radovan walks down the corridor, Philip surprises him, disarms him, and initiates hand-to-hand combat. Klaus arrives but suffers a stab wound between the legs. Philip continues to overpower Radovan while Suzanne hides. Philip ultimately throws Radovan onto the roof through a window. The two continue their struggle, and Klaus finds Suzanne, attempting to kill her. Klaus starts to strangle her, prompting Suzanne to defend herself with a pair of scissors, repeatedly hitting him in the neck. The police arrive and breach the hospital. On the roof, with difficulty, Philip manages to kill Radovan by breaking his neck. Philip escapes before the police arrive, concluding Suzanne's story. She is subsequently released, and the narrative shifts to Philip. Wounded and exhausted, he climbs into his car and drives away. Upon arriving at the hospital, he witnesses Suzanne being taken away by the police. The FBI agents finally check the hospital's database and discover that Suzanne is not actually a doctor. She had killed the real doctor and stolen her uniform. It is revealed that Suzanne had been working for Philip since the beginning. Furthermore, one of the FBI agents had collaborated with them to assassinate Mafia boss Dmitry. The story concludes with Philip and Suzanne driving away. To watch more video like this, click on the videos on your screen, and don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. And at last I will say, stay safe and stay healthy. See you next videos.